We've seen Tom Brady retire twice, with that final exit supposedly set in stone. Now, the legend claims he is happily retired, but is he? And he really wants us to believe that. But then, fresh flag football footage drops, and he admits on camera he asked the league about playing again. Plus, that Raiders stake changes everything. After a divorce that football clearly fueled, the legend is dead serious about a potential comeback. Funny enough, you ask, I actually have inquired, and they don't like that idea very much. An official NFL comeback from the greatest quarterback ever would stop the sports world cold. Show some love, hit like and subscribe, and let's break down how this went down. Brady literally went straight to the league with the question. This massive story did not start with some anonymous leak or rumor account. It came straight from Brady himself during a sit-down interview. The seven-time champion got grilled on the exact question every single football fan has been asking since he walked away. The host set the trap perfectly, baiting Brady to confirm the rumors we have all been whispering about. He pointed directly to that recent flag football video viral across the internet. That slick lateral, the absolute laser he launched right to Stephon Diggs. And then, he dropped the real question. He said, "So I'm not going to ask if you're preparing a comeback. I'm not going there. Instead, I want to know if you have checked the rules regarding a minority owner temporarily returning, say, around week 14 or something. Have you actually asked the league if that is allowed?" And boom, that is where Brady lit the fuse. He did not laugh it off or say he never thought about it. Instead, he leaned forward and admitted he actually made the call. These were his exact words. Funny enough, you ask, I actually have inquired, and they don't like that idea very much. Let that sink in for a moment. This is exactly why these comeback rumors simply will not die. Brady admitted he asked the league about returning as a player while keeping his minority stake in the Las Vegas Raiders. This was not just some hypothetical question from a reporter. This was Tom Brady admitting he personally picked up the phone to see if the door was still open. The legendary quarterback who already unretired once was back at the league office knocking. For anyone tracking this ongoing saga, that single admission set sports media into an absolute frenzy. Show some love by dropping a like as we track this crazy viral rumor. But what he said next is just as crucial, even if it gets completely edited out of the social media clips. Right after admitting he asked, he immediately shared more details. He said, "So, I'm going to leave it at that. We explored a lot of different things and I'm happily retired. Let me say that too," he added, portraying himself as a guy who is genuinely loving his post-NFL life. He mentioned how much fun he had competing in that celebrity flag football game. Then, he delivered a line that reveals everything about where his head is really at. "I love not getting hit. I've got a lot of fun things going on, and it's never going to get old. You know, throwing passes to elite athletes on a real field can eventually get old." He finished by stating that the flag game only proved to him how satisfied he is with retirement. So let's look at the facts. Brady dominates in a flag game. The footage goes viral. An interviewer asks if he checked the comeback rules for team owners. Brady admits he did. The league office immediately shut it down, and Brady shut down the rumor mill by claiming he is done. These bombshell comments dropped during a March 2026 interview, spreading like wildfire within minutes. And the reason this exploded is simple. When a seven-time champion says he reached out, fans completely ignore the rest of the sentence. That call is the spark. The disclaimers just get drowned out by the noise. But why does a simple question from Brady shake the NFL like an active earthquake? We have to look at exactly who is asking and why his shadow looms so large. Why does he get the benefit of the doubt every time? Why does everyone believe he can still play? To truly understand why this chatter holds such insane power, you must realize the massive shadow he still casts over the game. This is no career backup chasing a final payday. We are talking about the most legendary winner ever. He is the most relentlessly successful quarterback the game has ever seen. And that legendary pedigree turns even his most casual remark into a massive headline across every major sports network. Let's look at the dizzying scale of what this icon built over 23 seasons. Tom Brady captured 7 Super Bowl rings, more than any single franchise in league history. And he won with 2 different franchises, leading the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to a championship at age 43 in his very first season down in Florida. He took home 5 Super Bowl MVPs and 3 regular season MVP trophies. He leads the all-time charts with 89,214 passing yards and 649 touchdowns. He dominates in completions, regular season wins with 251, and postseason victories with 35. These stats are absolutely mind-blowing. They completely dwarf the competition, standing as monuments so massive that no active quarterback will ever reach them without playing elite football deep into their own 40s. Then there is the most thrilling chapter in the entire Tom Brady legend, The element that makes a comeback feel realistic when it should be impossible, the comebacks themselves. This man is, without question, the ultimate comeback artist the NFL has ever seen. He owns the record for the most fourth-quarter comebacks with 44 games where his team was down in the final period, yet he willed them to victory. He leads in game-winning drives, but standing above all of that is the most legendary night in championship history when his Patriots rallied from a 28-3 deficit against the Falcons in Super Bowl 51. It was the greatest Super Bowl comeback ever, sealed with 466 passing yards and an overtime win. When an athlete redefines what is possible, that many times, the concept of him beating Father Time feels less like a fantasy and more like destiny. And that is exactly why Brady's supreme confidence carries so much weight. During another interview, he was asked directly if he could step onto the field right now, and his response was pure, unmatched swagger. If they called me to play right now, would I be ready to go? That was my next question. Would you actually be ready to play right now? I'd whoop ass right now, honestly. Would you really? Asked if he was truly serious, and if his body could survive the hits, Brady doubled down without a second thought. Yeah, I could go out there, give me a month, I could play with anybody. 31 days, he insisted. That is all the preparation he claims he would need. We also have to consider his supernatural durability, which was the silent engine behind his historic career. He played 23 seasons, missing essentially only one to a severe knee injury back in 2008. Suiting up into his mid-40s, he shared the field with players young enough to be his sons, and still won a title at 43. He passed for over 5,000 yards in a season at 44. That is not normal. It is like he signed a private treaty with Father Time, and that history of running circles around the calendar makes his "give me a month" claim sound less like a wild fantasy and more like an absolute fact that has defined his entire career. The respect is so profound that even the older legends have bowed to him. Joe Montana, the legendary quarterback who wore the crown before Brady came along, was asked if Brady was the undisputed greatest of all time, and Montana did not hesitate. He admitted Brady took over the top spot years ago, praising his historic run and declaring that Brady's achievements firmly place him at the peak of football history. Montana even pointed to past icons, naming the classic giants of the sport, but still crowned Brady as the true number one when analyzing the total body of work. When the icon you surpassed willingly hands over the crown with genuine respect instead of bitterness, your legacy becomes absolutely untouchable. That kind of endorsement transforms a daring boast into something we are all prepared to believe. So when Brady hints at making a comeback, the NFL community does not just laugh it off. We cannot. This is the competitor who turned a 28-3 deficit into a historic coronation, who played elite postseason football into his mid-40s, and who holds every key longevity record in NFL history. This is not the empty trash talk of an aging star. It is the calculated perspective of the most decorated quarterback ever, which makes the next chapter of this journey absolutely thrilling. Because despite his unmatched legendary status, his route back onto the gridiron is blocked by a mess of red tape that has zero to do with his arm strength or legendary spiral. It is the ownership hurdle blocking him. Here is where the comeback dream crashes into the league front office rules. And honestly, it is a roadblock that number 12 built for himself. The biggest roadblock stopping Tom Brady from playing again is not his 48-year-old body, his joints, or the fear of taking hits from young defenders. No, it is a business deal he signed off the turf that quietly made a comeback almost impossible. See, Brady bought a minority stake in the Las Vegas Raiders, which the league approved in 2024. On paper, this was the dream setup for the retired icon. He got an owner box seat, a say in team moves, and a piece of the league he dominated for decades. But that specific investment slammed a massive door he probably did not see closing back then. The league playbook strictly bans active players from owning a piece of any franchise. That creates a massive conflict of interest. Buying into the Raiders effectively took a simple return to the field completely off the table. You cannot line your pockets as an owner while wearing a helmet as an active competitor. Our colleagues inside the media room have mapped out just how steep this uphill climb really is. To put it bluntly, that ownership slice is the absolute deal breaker. The moment he bought in, any return was dead on arrival, even for Las Vegas itself. It would require a massive vote from the other league owners. We might even be talking a unanimous vote just to let him suit up. Now, think about how absolutely wild that scenario is. To get him back under center, his fellow owners, who are also his direct competitors, would have to agree to let it happen. That is not just a high hurdle, folks. That is a fortress. Let us look closer, because this context changes how we view his inquiries. Remember, His question was specifically about whether a minority owner could lace up for a late playoff push around Week 14. Brady is no rookie. He knew his Raiders investment was the issue, which is exactly why he asked if a team owner could return for a quick postseason run. He literally went to the commissioner to see how to make that happen. And by his own account, the front office did not love that idea at all. The defense held. That is why everyone doubted his confident boast about only needing a month. Commentators watching his remarks did not just doubt his fitness. They pointed right at the rulebook. As a fellow analyst pointed out, this is not about whether he wants to play. Frankly, his 48-year-old body probably cannot take that kind of punishment anymore. Look, the real story here is not his physical limit, but his burning desire. The league says no, but his competitive drive never left. If you love NFL breakdowns, hit like and subscribe right now. That hunger to dominate on Sundays is still blazing deep inside his chest. But wanting to play versus actually being cleared are two different worlds, and his Raiders stake cut that cord. Analysts pointed out the wild balancing act he has got going on right now. Let us count his current jobs together and see just how busy he really is. First, he has got his major weekly podcast, Let's Go. Then he is part owner of the Raiders, plus his lead analyst gig at Fox. Add his other investments, and honestly, if he could play through all that, he absolutely would. The reality is that the massive business empire he built away from the field is exactly what traps him. He created a retirement career so massive that playing even one snap of football would instantly tear down a complex web of business contracts. These deals are absolutely mind-blowing. He signed a record 10-year, $375 million contract to serve as the lead analyst for Fox. That contract puts him in the booth analyzing the most important games every single week. He is even scheduled to go back to Gillette Stadium to call a Patriots game. He will sit in the house he built, but wearing a commentator headset instead of a quarterback helmet. That ownership stake, his broadcasting deal, the podcast, and his ventures, they all form a gilded cage. So, when you and I stack that unanimous vote requirement onto the broadcasting conflict, plus the strict rules preventing active players from owning teams, his comeback path is virtually a dead end. But the obstacles are not just legal. Even if every owner voted yes tomorrow, there is a far more personal, deeply human reason why Brady walked away in the first place. And those reasons cut deeper than league rules, the human cost that pulled him away. If you like deep football stories, subscribe. Stripping away the contracts and rules, we find the rawest, most personal layer of this entire story, explaining why Brady might not want to return, even if the league rolled out the red carpet. Because that relentless drive for greatness which built his legend also demanded a devastating personal cost, and Brady has opened up about it with a sincerity that shows how heavy that burden remains. The hardest chapter is the end of his marriage. Brady and supermodel Gisele Bündchen were together for 16 years, married since 2009, raising 2 kids, and seen by the public as the ultimate power couple. But the fractures were deep, and the ultimate breaking point pointed straight back to the gridiron. Brady retired in February 2022, only to unretire less than 2 months later for one last run with the Buccaneers. That sudden about-face ignited issues that had simmered for years, as Gisele desperately wanted more family time. Instead, Brady chose the field again. They filed for divorce on October 28, 2022, ending their marriage during the exact season he came back for. When Brady finally spoke about the split, his words carried a heavy sense of self-awareness and deep regret. Opening up on his show, he admitted how his obsession with winning hurt his family. This was not a polished public relations spin. I feel like I'm so driven to succeed in football, and that's taken me away from other important priorities, namely my kids and my wife. This was a father and husband realizing the true cost of his obsession. He spoke about trying to separate work from family, to shut out the game when he got home, admitting how tough that balance was, stating she really held it down for our family. And I am just incredibly grateful that, she really committed so much of her time these last 14 years to make sure everything was stable at home so I could live my dream. He went out of his way to praise the sacrifices Gisele made to let him chase his goals. Full of appreciation, he looked back. In one of the interview's most honest moments, Brady admitted to a lingering guilt, comparing his parenting to his own mom and dad. I try to focus entirely on my job when I am working, and entirely on my family when I am home. I look back at how my dad and mom did exactly that same thing for me growing up, so I feel some guilt that I have not been able to do that for my own kids. That heavy word, guilt, clearly hangs over him. That is the voice of a champion who won every trophy possible, yet is still measuring the personal toll. And the physical toll was real too, even for an elite athlete who treated his body like a temple. His worst injury was a torn knee ligament in the opening week of the 2008 season, which sidelined him for the year and snapped a streak of 111 consecutive starts. Over his first 17 seasons, he appeared on the official injury report more than 186 times, with everything from shoulder issues to broken ribs. He battled through a separated shoulder and torn hand ligaments, enduring pain that would have sidelined other players. He later admitted his surgically repaired left knee never felt quite like his right one again. The damage was real, the hits added up, and the body always keeps a record that training cannot erase. Then there is the quiet threat of head trauma hanging over. While Brady never had a documented concussion, Gisele Bündchen claimed in 2017 that he suffered concussions nearly every year, including during the 2016 season. Brady admitted he had surely suffered concussions, but shrugged off the long-term worry, trusting his strict health routines as a shield. But the grim reality of football is that taking head hits for over 20 years comes with a massive risk for anyone playing that long. And those dangers do not simply vanish when you hang up the cleats. Let's take a closer look together at how Brady himself framed this ultimate sacrifice, because his thoughts after the split went far deeper than just one relationship. In public, he kept coming back to one central theme: the brutal clash between a hyper-focused athlete chasing greatness and a father who needs to be there for his family. He admitted that keeping those two lives separate was incredibly tough, and a battle he did not always win. He talked about wanting to walk proud both on and off the gridiron, a goal that silently admits he sometimes failed, and he spoke of treasuring those fleeting family moments, holding on to them whenever he actually had the chance. That is the painful regret of a legend who realizes just how many milestones he missed while chasing championship rings. This raw emotion is what really drives a retirement decision, and it carries far more weight than any contract clause. As analysts, we have to look at this context to understand his words. So when he admits he loves not taking hits, or that a simple flag football game proved he is happy retired, he is not just making idle conversation. He is speaking as an ultimate competitor who paid for his legacy with his marriage, his own physical health, and years he can never retrieve with his kids. The obsession that made him the greatest of all time is the very thing he now recalls with clear regret. If you and I are going to judge whether this comeback rumor is real, we must measure it against a guy who has every reason to stay retired. Now let us hit the moment of truth. But first, make sure to like and subscribe for more deep dives. Ready? Let us answer the big question. Did Tom Brady actually announce an NFL return? Here is the ultimate verdict, plain and simple. After breaking down this entire story, the clickbait claims the quarterback officially announced his return to the league. But when we study his exact words, the response from league offices, and the massive rules blocking his path, the real truth is there is absolutely no official playing comeback on the table. In reality, what Brady said was the exact opposite. It was a clear confirmation that he checked out his options and chose to stay retired. Let us track the evidence together to make the picture crystal clear. Yes, Brady did admit he reached out to the NFL. We know that part is a fact, and that is exactly what sparked all these wild stories. Yet, in that exact same statement, he made his real stance incredibly obvious. He revealed the league office was not on board, that he dropped the matter right there before dropping the final quote that settles it. He said they looked at some things, but he is happily retired and wants everyone to know that. He even pointed out that playing some casual flag football reminded him how glad he is to be done. An athlete plotting a major return does not immediately tell you that stepping on the field convinced him to stay retired. Our sources fully support this reality. The brief inquiry led nowhere, and Brady is content with no plans to ever put the pads back on. The phone call happened, but the return is fake. The media took a simple quote and stretched it way past its limits, twisting a basic check-in into a major breaking news announcement about a comeback. That is textbook clickbait, and his complicated history makes him the ultimate target. Honestly, his track record is why these rumors always get traction in our news feeds. He has cried wolf before. He retired in February 2022, returned soon after, then walked away again in February 2023. He has established a clear habit of quitting and then reconsidering. So whenever he drops a vague comment, fans brace for a U-turn. Combine that with his massive ego, his boast that he could play for anyone with a month of training, and that video showing he still has a cannon, and you get a recycled rumor that refuses to die. Hit like if you agree, but the smart analysts saw right through the noise, and their breakdown is worth listening to. They highlighted the massive ownership hurdle, requiring a potential vote from league owners now that he owns a stake in the Raiders. Honestly, I call bluff. You do not make that kind of bet. The reality of that claim is it never gets tested. Nobody is going to force him to prove it. Experts also highlight his age and the sheer physical toll, with some commentators arguing that Father Time is undefeated, and he simply cannot take those hits at his age. As one veteran reporter noted with absolute certainty, it is incredibly easy to say you can still play when you never have to actually suit up and prove it on a Sunday. There is actually a perfect irony here. Analysts pointed out he would eventually have to test his skills in a safe environment, and that is precisely what happened. Picture Tom Brady taking the field for a flag football showcase in Saudi Arabia. No pass rush, zero threat of getting hit. He throws to elite targets, flashes that legendary arm, feeds his competitive fire, and walks away completely unbruised. That is the exact comeback Brady actually wants, a return without the broken marriages, the cracked ribs, the concussions, and the stolen family time. He basically told us himself, admitting he loves not getting hit and is happy retired. So, let's look at the bottom line together. You and I have to weigh this against everything he has said and done. Sure, he flirted with a return, but the answer he got, plus the comfortable life he has built and the heavy physical toll he paid, kept him right where he is, happily retired. Those comeback rumors are just headlines doing what media does to a superstar like Brady, taking a simple quote and spinning a narrative it was never meant to tell. Look, Brady is staying in the broadcast booth, the front office, and on the flag football turf. The shoulder pads are staying in the closet. Honestly, given his marriage, his aging body, the complex franchise ownership rules, and his constant reminders that he is happy, that is right where they will stay. Drop a like if you agree. Enjoyed this breakdown? Hit subscribe and click right here for more.